Hello and welcome to a special edition of Living Piano TV. I'm Robert Estrin, your host, and today is the first of a multi-part series, How to Buy a Piano. You know, there are several things you can check for yourself before engaging a professional piano technician to check out your piano, or a pianist. There are things that you can check yourself first to make sure it's worthy of spending the money to even get somebody professional to look at the piano. So how do you ascertain whether the piano is in good condition or not? The challenge is oftentimes people are selling pianos, they don't tune them, they don't do much, so you can't tell if the problems are serious ones that are fundamental or just something that can be fixed for a few $100s with a piano technician. So let me show you a few things. First of all, look at the piano. Look inside at the strings. If you see rust, particularly around the pins and around the hitch pins on the other end of the piano, this can be serious because when you try to tune the piano, the strings might break. Worse yet, the tone can suffer. You'll notice this particularly as you play lower and lower, and when you come to the copper wound strings, you'll get a thuddy sound right at the point that you change over from the steel strings to the copper strings. Sometimes you can work with the strings, twist them, tap them at the points of termination on the bridge and get better results, but oftentimes it will require restringing. Very important to climb underneath the piano, or if it's an upright, the back of the piano, so you can see the soundboard. The soundboard is the heart and soul of the piano. If you could see the light of day through that soundboard, through big cracks, this can be a problem, while hairline cracks oftentimes are a normal part of the aging process in many parts of the country. Worse yet, if the soundboard warps and is detached from the ribs, this can create buzzing. And really the only way to fix that properly is to remove the plate and the strings and go through a process with shimming and gluing that you can only perform when you rebuild the piano. Once again, a big expense. The other thing about a piano is how much it's been played, and parts of the action do wear out. There's a couple of very simple things you can do to check that out. One is simply wiggle the keys back and forth, particularly in the middle of the piano where the piano's played a great deal. And if you find that you hear clicking, then the felt bushings have been worn out. While key bushings are not very expensive to replace, this could indicate that other parts of the piano are worn as well, and hammers and whip-ins can get very expensive to replace a whole set. You can also look at the hammers, particularly on the treble end, by pushing the keys down and looking at the hammers. You'll see the wooden shank, and in front of that wooden shank, you'll see felt. If there's very little felt left to work with, then you couldn't necessarily reshape the hammers. Now, if the hammers are heavily grooved or even flattened, but you have a lot of felt in front of the wooden shank, it is possible that you could reshape the hammers and get down to virgin felt and get good results. So these are just several little tips you can use to try the piano and to get some idea of the condition. Another big problem, as I said, is people rarely tune their pianos before selling them. And you might have a piano that's wildly out. Perhaps it just needs a tuning or several tunings to get it stable again. But what if the pin block is cracked and the piano can't be tuned? How can you know this? Well, one of the ways is play on the piano, and if you find any single notes where you hear more than one pitch, pluck the strings of that note and find the one that's lowest. If you find other notes that are also low and they seem to form a straight line on the pins, then through detective work, you can ascertain that there could be a crack in the pin block if the notes that are very low form a straight line on the pins. These are just some tricks or techniques you could use, and this way, when you find a piano that you like, you can get a technician or at least a good pianist to try it out for you. And if it's a real bargain, realize that somebody else might snap it up quickly. So sometimes you do have to move fast, and there's a certain risk you may be taking, but at least these are some techniques that you can come armed with to have some idea of what you're looking at. I'll give you future tips in other videos in this series. So glad to join me. If you have questions about specific pianos, feel free to contact me at the contact information on the bottom of your screen. It's great bringing these shows to you, and thanks for your suggestions for future shows. I'm Robert Estrin with Living Piano TV. See you next time. Bye-bye.